Planning Commission of Town of Chincoteague to order, January 10th, 2023. I ask you all to rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Lord, thank you, Lord, for letting us all gather here tonight, Lord. I just pray, Lord, that you'll put a hedge of protection over everybody in this room, Lord, over this community, Lord. We're so thankful we're able to live here. Also, Lord, tonight I'd like to say a special prayer for Mark Bowden and his family, Lord, as his daughter had surgery today. Just pray that all went well, Lord, and she's home soon. So, thank you, Lord.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you all for your attendance tonight. Although we will miss Mark. Anything from the general public? I would like to wish everybody Happy New Year before we get started. And hope you all had a blessed holiday season. Have an agenda review. Any changes or corrections to the agenda as presented? As for the approval of the agenda as written.
I move that we accept the agenda.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So moved. The first item is the election of officers for the year 2023. Normally we do that in February, but if the commission so chooses, we can delay till February, or we can conduct it this evening.
I say let's go with it.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, I would ask that
Yes,
you would take over.
I'll take care of that. The officers shall be chairman, vice chairman, and
Secretary.
secretary. Do I hear nominations for the office of chairman? Yes, sir.
Ray Rosenberg.
I have a nomination for Mr. Ray Rosenberg for chairman of the planning commission. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed. All in favor of Ray Rosenberg for chairman of the planning commission signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
I'll nominate Molly for vice chair.
Second.
Am I still running, or are you?
No, keep going.
Okay, all right. I have a nomination for Ms. Molly Cherricks as vice chairman. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed. All in favor for Molly Cherricks as vice chairman of the planning commission, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Ms. Cherricks. Your nominations for secretary of the planning commission.
Mark Bowden for secretary.
Second.
I have a nomination for Mark Baden as secretary of the planning commission. Any other nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed. All in favor of Mark Baden for secretary of the planning commission, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Mr. Baden. Mr. Chairman, it's your meeting.
Thank you, Michael. That's one of the few times that I can vote. Normally, it's only for ties or what have you. But
That's why we keep you as a chair, so you can.
yeah, they're trying to keep me out of trouble.
He figures it out.
Thank you, guy. Okay, approval. Item number 2 is approval of November 8th, 2022 regular meeting minutes. Any changes or corrections to the minutes from November? Having none, I'll ask for approval of those minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes as provided.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thanks again. Item number 3 is review of the economic comprehensive plan, which, again, it amazes me when I think this is January 2023, and okay, we got 2 years to put this thing to bed, and you know what it took the last time. Although it won't be as comprehensive or as in depth as our last one was, we still want to do the best job we can for the town of Chincoteague. So, having said that, Bob, you want to take over chapter 4?
Yeah, as we've discussed, there were a couple things that we wanted to go through and improve in this version of the comprehensive plan. And one of the things that we tried and didn't quite get done in the last revision was a discussion of the local full-service economy, because it really is a major plus. I think everyone will agree that if there's something you need in town, you could find it, you know? And that's a real big plus. You don't have to drive somewhere to go and get it. So to be able to go through and project that, and this is not only goods, it also includes services and stuff. Be able to go through and project that, there really wasn't a whole lot of text. There's a nice large section on tourism, which of course is the major portion of the economy, and then another major segment of the economy, which was aquaculture, is also in the current plan. So this part that kind of fits in the middle, domestic product and number of people employed goes, was kind of missing. And so it's a little difficult. What you want to really do is go through and gather statistics, take a look at trends to make sure that your economy is healthy, to identify any places where there may be some deficiencies or some areas that need attention, or opportunities to take advantage of. So the Census Bureau does go through, and every 10 years does a economic census. And so this year it does it in the second year of the decade. So the timeline, and it's a long timeline for collecting this data. They started this round in
I've been getting 2 or
October.
3 messages a day now from them.
Yeah, well, you know, it would be good for all the local businesses and stuff like that to respond to it. I looked at some of the literature and stuff like that, and some of it may not be as straightforward as you might want to think, you know. But, you know, they did go through and send out some information that should help. In fact, the first thing that they sent out in October was a system classification card. They go through and they use this system of codes called the NAICS codes. And so people go through and classify themselves and their businesses according to these codes and report back to the Census Bureau. They take that and reduce the data. In fact, in the current comprehensive plan, there's a couple tables at the beginning of chapter 4, which describes the predominant industries on the island as far as like dollar volume goes. And then a second table, which does the same, the dominant industries as far as the number of employees go. And so taking that, I went through, and that's what's on this sheet. Those major categories that were dominant in 2002 and 2012 are listed on this page, and I started going through and listing some of the subcategories to go through and give an idea. What I hope to do with this section, and I'm certainly looking for a whole bunch of suggestions, is a way to go through and be able to obtain meaningful data and project that data in a meaningful way, so that, you know, it's just not pages of data in the comp plan. It's something, you know, people could use. So this is first start. What I was going to do next was go through and pull out the numbers from the last 2 census, economic census, and start filling in some of the gaps here, or filling in some of the detail here on these categories, and see how that's starting to work out. Some of these should disappear because there'll only be like 1 or 2 people employed under the code, but others would certainly stay. It's a little difficult. They're very careful. The Census Bureau is very careful. Some of the industries on the island, there's only a handful of vendors. And so with that, if they were to go through and put out a whole bunch of data, people could figure out what someone else's business is doing. And so what they do with that is they label it as proprietary, and they don't release any of the data. And so that's why, like, it's difficult to address. Aquaculture is a good example of that. We know it's a major portion of the local economy here, but yet when you go to the Census Bureau, they have no data available. They'll give you the number of businesses involved, but that's it. No economic data. So that's why it has its own section. And even that, in crafting that section, is a little difficult. As you recall, and going through it, it's oriented towards the county level aquaculture and state level aquaculture, as opposed to aquaculture businesses on Juneteenth. So I'm certainly open for ideas. I don't want to say we have plenty of time, but the Census Bureau will take its time. They go through and mail out the questionnaires in January of this year. That should come at the end of the month. Responses are due back in March, and then of this year, and then the first drop of data isn't until a year later, in March of '24, and then the final date is in March 26. But generally, other than some finer breakup of data fields, there isn't all that much difference between the 2024 data and the 2026 data. So take a look at this, and if there's areas that you feel aren't being addressed but are dominant economic drivers on the island, we could certainly add them in. Some of these will go away because, again, there's only a couple people involved in the industries. And
One of the things that was interesting when you look at the national data is one of the highlights that they've already identified is the construction industry. And I would say that the construction industry here on the island plays a more significant role than many people think it does. I mean, they don't say it. They say it as individuals and so forth, but collectively and on a national level, that is a major driver. And not only just for the industry itself, but for supports. There's folks who support the whole concept of it. So, but you can go online and sign up for the census information. You can limit it to what you want, or you can make it as broad as you want. You get it all, and then it's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
But there's some kind of neat stuff on there, and for those of us who are retired and have more time than those who are gainfully employed, it's interesting.
Yeah, I agree. For the last comp plan, it took some time to master their system. And once I got settled with it, they announced that they're putting out a new system. And the new system I have some difficolty with.
Well, it's a podcast coming up, the Learning Podcast.
Yeah. Oh, that's one thing they are good about is they do have a whole lot of streamed sessions. So any comments, or is this the way we kind of want to go, or go a different route, or?
I think it's advantageous to take the segment like this, and break it down into piece parts, and then whittle it down into those that are relevant, and we can actually put some numbers to and some justification for.
Yeah, in looking at the previous data, one of the things, I agree with that, one of the things that I was surprised about were the number of people involved in like healthcare that live on the island.
Mm-hmm.
They all almost all commute somewhere, but a lot of people in healthcare live here, which is a good thing.
Well, the interesting thing, if you sit at the bridge between 7 and 8 in the morning, there's those, and then there's these. And it's very definitely significant numbers, more so than you would just think about, off the top of your head. So, anything more?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I do. I should also note that one of the other things that we were a little deficient on in Chapter 5 of the previous version was we didn't include the Bay Field Station in the Wallops Island segment. And actually, that they are an employer and they are little bit of an economic driver on the island, in that they have like road scholar groups that come over and they bring them onto the island. They do boating and kayaking and stuff like that, and some other types of tours. So there is economic benefit to folks on the island. In addition to that, they do go through and offer a set of college-level credit and non-credit courses that actually they're pretty cool. And they run the whole range. Actually, you take courses which are oriented towards children, all the way up through real adults, old adults like us, like me, and so there'll be an educational aspect added to that in Chapter 5, along with under education, along with the section in Wallops Island. So I did spend probably about 2 hours speaking with them, collected a lot of data, and I'm formatting that data. One of the things that I'd like us to consider, and I'll come up with an example or two and we could go through, take a look at it, is in the Wallops Island section, I'd like it to be more oriented, less on a description of what each element is, and more, and beef up the section as far as the economic impact and opportunity of those elements are. So,
We also have the Rocket Lab.
yeah.
With the development of their facilities over on the industrial park. I just found out last month that my future granddaughter's husband is employed by Rocket Lab, but in Colorado, not here. But in general conversations with him, it sounds like Rocket Lab's going to be very significant here over the next 4, 5, 6 years as it evolves. Right now it's in its infancy. So that'll be a major, possibly another major contributor to the island's economic pluses.
And actually, I think it may well end up in two different ways. One is just, aerospace industry itself.
Mm-hmm.
They have developed quick turnaround methods that they've used to go through and launch, which are very good. But they're also planning on doing return of the first stage.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, if that were to occur, that would be a big tourist attraction.
Well, I think that this last attempt back in December identified the fact that, that it generated a lot of issues, a lot of interest, I should say. And although it's not in its areas, it's a pretty neat sight to see. It's pretty neat for the folks to come watch it. So, and it does get area-wide publicity, and not just our general local area, but it's identified all the way out to Washington, up to Philadelphia, down into the Norfolk area. So, and they're day trippers, a lot of them. So, again, it's a plus. Okay. Item number 4, the survey review. Did you get a copy from Mark? So you asked me to send
An email, yeah.
Okay. Are we prepared to go that route at this point in time? Mark's not here. Mike, I don't want to put the full burden on yourself, but is there a methodology we want to specifically address as to how we were going to deliver this? be it the monkey or whatever.
Well,
Because it appears everybody and their brother is sending out surveys. Accomack sent out a survey to the businesses.
well, like I said, we can distribute this via email, via anything electronic. It is fairly costly to send this to every resident on the island if we're gonna mail it. I mean, I'm talking
I agree,
thousands of
I agree.
dollars, not hundreds
agree.
and stuff.
I agree.
We can do it on SurveyMonkey, or some similar application, and we can put it on our website, and we can talk it up and try to drive people to the website to take the survey. That's how I'd recommend it.
I agree. We don't have to have, 3,000 responses. I think what we want is a general flavor for what people who are interested enough to take it and share their opinions, that we
Well,
can glean some information that way.
If different organizations where people gather can advertise a survey, it's a simple matter of going online, takes a few minutes online from the website, put it on the website, post it there, and collect responses there. Or we can, something like SurveyMonkey, who will host it themselves. And
Can we do
themselves.
multiples? Can we do like Chamber and ourselves, our town website, the Chamber website, if we could ask Owen?
I'm pretty sure we can. The trouble is compiling the data and everything. You want someone who's set up to do it. These apps, these applications that do that can do it easily and inexpensively. We can certainly put it on our website in this actual survey and ask people to mail it in or send it in. Then we have to sit down and compile all the
Right.
data. That's a thankless job for somebody. It's a month of Sundays, literally.
If you want to forward it, I'll take it
Forward it
from the town.
to,
If you get the survey sent to the town, and you can then forward them to me, I'll compile the data for the town.
so you want us to have them fill them out and submit the form online and?
Yeah, but if the form's submitted to the town, town receives the form,
We'll receive it via email.
and just forward it.
That adds a level of complication too for the person doing it. If you're gonna get, some older folks who aren't or not necessarily older, but folks who aren't as familiar with the computer and how to, download the form, fill the form out, and then upload it to their email or attach it to their email, send it in. It might limit your responses to those who are just computer savvy. Whereas
Well,
you
we
get
can ask them to
online-
either email or print it and send it.
We can do that, see what kind of, my suggestion was gonna be we employ a service if it's reasonable enough to go ahead
Oh,
and
yeah,
do that
let's do
for us.
that.
And then when they click done, it's submitted, it's compiled, they send us back a
Yeah.
report.
Yeah,
That's
and then
the
you-
survey.
Well,
I was gonna say, you can have a link on your webpage
A
that
link.
takes some survey from a
Exactly.
survey. And then I can share that, you can share it,
Yeah.
and people,
Chamber or.
And then, it can be on Facebook as far as I know. I don't have
Yeah,
Facebook.
yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Facebook, yeah, so, and then anywhere they submit it from their phone, their iPad, their computer, anywhere, it goes to the people hosting the survey and they compile and send it back to us. So not only does it cut out all the work, but it makes it more convenient for the person answering the survey.
Is that it?
We'll take a look at a few of
Commissioners?
those and see if we can get it
I
done
think so.
reasonably. I might even find some services who do it for municipalities a little cheaper. We'll see.
Is there still $50 in our budget for
I think
the
you've
planning
got
commission?
Just about 50.
Or do we want? Well, if it's commissioners' agreement, can we pursue that then, Mike? Thank you.
But the survey is fine in the form it's in.
Yep. Does anybody have any more to add to it? No, I think it's fine.
Just one misspelled word,
What? Go ahead, Ms. Mullin.
down here to the bottom. I think you meant year, but it had tier or tag or whatever. Number 2,
Number 2,
To a tier
Second
round.
section.
yeah, it's tier.
It should be year. Our English teacher has corrected us on
I didn't,
item number 2 on the bottom of the first page.
first page.
What is see more growth for the town as a tier rail community.
We're gonna cry.
Oh,
Oh,
Someday.
tier road, I got it. Yep.
Where'd you go, man?
I highlighted it in
I
red.
got it.
You got it?
No, yeah, yes, ma'am. Okay, so I've got it highlighted, we'll fix that.
Okay. Enough said.
Hmm.
Item number 5, I'd like to bring to the Commissioner's attention and possibly develop a recommendation to our council for the establishment of an EV station or 2 on the island. I think we're all in agreement, we're tourist oriented. And it seems to me more and more tourists are driving economically favorable cars for their benefit, and they're EVs, electric vehicles. And there are grants available to help us set up a station. And well, I had the Virginia Department of Energy has a program, a pilot charging station program under Virginia Clean Cities, which for the most part would cover our expenses to establish it. The only issue may be, the electricity would be supplied by ANEC, and they would charge the town a fee for that. But again, that could be compensated by having a fee at the charging station.
Most definitely.
And so, kicking it around in a very short period of time, one of the first things I thought of was Chamber of Commerce location, since that is the major tourist driver organization here on the island, and the property is owned by the town, as I understand it. There is already parking spaces there, and the biggest drawback or issue to that would be getting the electric in the station itself set up, But I'm opening that really from the standpoint of what do the commissioners think? Is it a good idea, or?
One thought, if we did it, may want to consider, and we've talked about it a little bit, is the parking lot downtown.
yeah.
Because
Oh,
then
that's
you can drive commerce with it as well, because they gotta wait while their car's charging, they go to restaurant shops, whatever.
That could be adjacent to the bridge,
Uh,
so that it doesn't take up parking spaces within the lot itself. Or you could also have Memorial Park, although that's really a destination place, not everybody's gonna go to.
Yeah, and you probably want
But-
to keep it away from flooding,
Right.
areas that are
Yeah.
subject to flooding.
But downtown, the harbor, or whatever, but
Yeah, down by the boat dock, just across from Cropper Street, be a real good place. Because it's underutilized parking lot, and it'll draw people to an area that is a little less traveled than the other part of C1. But yeah, that's what most places are doing, is dropping them in the business districts. And because you're gonna plug in for a couple hours, and so with that, you'd like to go and have a nice meal or do some shopping.
the beauty of it too is it gets identified in the state map as location. They have a program now that you can go on, the state website, and it'll show you where all the various stations are as they're evolving.
If you're looking for a place that doesn't have flooding, I don't think you'd want the Tang Dock, because that does flood So you gotta have a place that's more, you want it near town, but you want it where it's not gonna get flooding when you have a high tide or a northeaster.
Well,
Water stands on the town dock sometimes.
So we're just doing it downtown,
On the mall.
yeah, behind the mall.
That's further away, yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be better.
Yeah, it'll be more central localized
Yeah.
too.
Then they can all walk by all the shops while they're waiting.
actually, you got the old firehouse location. Where the,
That
maintenance
building has
building.
0 parking as it is.
yeah.
Not sure we want somebody pulled up there for 2 hours at a time.
Yeah. Are we going to do something with that?
We're renting it right now. It's nearly all rented.
No, I mean, the old, not firehouse,
The
That one's
maintenance
rented too.
the
building.
maintenance building.
The old public
Maintenance
works
building, we're renting that too, right now, to be honest. But that building, the disposition of that building depends on what eventually gets done with the old firehouse, because that could become parking, it could become sewage, it could be accessory to whatever, or ancillary to whatever we do with the firehouse.
I was gonna wait till later just to mention it, but an ANCOT just got $1 million grant for their building downtown that had been sitting vacant for 8 or 9 years. And their purpose is almost in sync with what our original recommendation was, you know, that there would be retail stores at the first level, and the second level is gonna be 6 apartments, for low-income apartments. So, again, this was a grant, there's money out there to do that, should we ever choose to do it, or pursue it. So, but yeah, again, the thought is to get it someplace that's convenient for people to use and beneficial to the town, so.
Now, would Tesla and them, do they contribute anything for the chargers?
Who's that?
Tesla. For the charging stations?
No, not that I know of. Tesla's taking a hit right now.
Yeah, actually,
What
Ford
is
is.
They're not really willing to be very generous until they get their own house of water, I think.
Yeah, they did a bunch initially, but.
Yeah, I didn't know how it worked.
You know, in
Yeah.
like 2-3 years, I mean, it's gonna be predominantly Ford.
Yeah, and
And then
it's not
Chevy
just
is
Tesla,
far
yeah.
behind.
Um,
Yeah,
Within my family, there's 2 Fords and a Toyota, I guess, that are the auxiliary kind, EV and gas.
Yep.
But, you know, it's gonna happen, and it seems to me very beneficial. So what would be the commissioner's suggestion? Would we make a recommendation to town council that we pursue this? Is that the way to go?
Council's looked at it already, and they, we actually went and talked to A&N about it, and A&N's pursuing grants to get this done. We offered to A&N unofficially that we would come up with a piece of real estate to put this station on, and the
That's
public parking downtown was our first choice, because it does take people downtown, and there's plenty of parking for people that don't sit there for several hours while they charge. But they have not yet been successful in getting grants to do this.
So as a planning commission, we could be supportive of the town's efforts at this point in time? And we can put that in our minutes, that planning commission supports the efforts of the town in acquiring EV stations. Okay. Item number 6, do we want to wait for Mark
Yes, sir,
this
I'd
one,
like to
I
defer
think we
that to
should-
the next meeting, wait for
Yeah.
Mark so he can explain it.
Yeah, I think that'd be more appropriate, so we will table that for this meeting and put it in our agenda for February. That's the review of accessory structures section. Item number 7, and congratulations, Mike, I understand you laid the groundwork, you did the footwork, you did the whatever to
Congratulations
acquire.
and condolences, but we do.
Well,
Better or worse,
however
we
you
own the sewer plant,
wanna
yes.
look at it, but the acquisition, we are now in the septic business as a town.
We are, but we've just got a very little bit of our little toe in it right now.
Understand.
Right now, the developer is leasing that plant back from us, although we do officially own it. The deed's been recorded. The developer's leasing it back for up to 1 year. We hope to have that plant in HRSD's hands much sooner than that, and at the time that it officially transfers to HRSD, they will operate it, and the developer's lease will be null and void.
But the town essentially will still own it.
No, once we turn it over to HRSD.
Once we
they
turn it
will-
over, we're done with it entirely.
And we're out of the sewage business again. Now, we do retain, and this is the reason for this being on the agenda tonight, we do retain, the town does retain the right to say who hooks up and for, and what the consequences are, or the details of that connection will be for any private individual that hooks up to the system. We have some work to do, basically on a comprehensive plan in this respect, and that work can't take too long. I will have for you at the next meeting some samples of how our comprehensive plan needs to read. And HRSD is going to insist on our comprehensive plan addressing this so that they can govern themselves within the town limits or within their service area. And as I said, I've asked HRSD for some assistance in this neighborhood so that we can get some things accomplished fairly quickly. We'll get some boilerplate stuff, we'll look at it, we'll decide how it fits our situation, and let you all tune it up and then present it to them and present it to the council as through the normal public hearing process and get council to approve the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, they've had experience with all the other communities.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, many of them.
Is the initial focus primarily the commercial?
Initial focus is commercial. Our extra capacity or our additional capacity is 37,500 gallons per day, and that's the permit, and that's the inspiration for us getting into sewage business was that with the transfer of the plant came an additional permit that had not been built out yet. That permit's good for 37,500 gallons a day. DEQ will let you discharge 95% of that on average per month. So we will have that much extra capacity. HRSD has agreed to, when they take over the plant, to build out that capacity for us in one fashion or another, to give us use or make that capacity available to us, I should say. The thought is that we offer it to commercial customers in the downtown area for which there are no sewage solutions, to businesses down there to help revitalize that area a little bit, and turn up Maddox Boulevard and offer it to that commercial corridor as well. As you know, we've had very few solutions for sewage in the downtown area because everything was built in the old C2 district right on top of each other, so there's actually no land available to pump sewage to. And we feel like offering this and making it available could revitalize some of that area. Now, I think the original wastewater advisory committee can be a big help here because they did a lot of this work ahead of time some years ago and gave their final report in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. But they identified that basic T-shaped or L-shaped area as being the focus of anything initially that we should do. And they kind of envisioned that we should get into it in a small way first and concentrate on commercial entities and not private entities. One of the reasons for that was that there was a fear by a lot of private individuals that they would be forced to connect to any system that the town may come across. And that the wastewater committee was adamant that should not be the case, that no one should be forced to have mandatory connection, in other words. So therefore, that's the reason that the committee recommended that we get into this in stages and offer it to commercial businesses first. And we think we think once the connection system is built and this is up and running, that we will have no trouble selling out of capacity in short order. Because we think there's at least that much demand. 37,500 gallons per day sounds like a lot, but will go fairly quickly. And the way it was previously sold was in EDUs, equivalent dwelling units, and there are different definitions for those, but the developer defined those as 300 gallons per day. You take a business like, I believe one of the hotels that's connected bought 15 EDUs for the
Is
hotel.
that, Conference Suites, did they utilize
The Key West Cottages is connected to
They
the
already
existing
are.
plant, but
because
they,
that was the original location way back.
way back. But
Yeah.
they did connect, and they have already run the pipe down Main Street, the
Right.
force mains down Main Street. But when they connected, that used the balance of the capacity that the Sunset Bay plant had. So that plant is basically sold out.
Okay.
As I said, HRSD is planning on doing some, building out some additional capacity for us so that we can utilize this extra permit. But if memory serves me, of course, Sunset Bay condominiums are connected to it. The firehouse has one EDU,
Right.
the old firehouse.
Tommy?
The theater, Bill's Restaurant is on the system or has paid to connect to the system. The Village Mall, I believe, is on the system. The Taylor Bank is on the system. Don's Restaurant is on the system. Shinkatiki is on the system, and now Key West Cottages is also connected. So, as you can see, it's already servicing a good part
Good
of the
piece.
downtown.
Is Roadwalk part of that?
The Roadwalk is, yes. when they were
Because that
built.
was part of the original
That was part of the
Sunset
original,
Bays.
yes.
Yeah.
Roadwalk, Fairfield Inn, and Sunset Bay condominiums.
Have we looked at the plant there at the Marina? That's not part of it, further south.
That's a private plant.
It's a private plant,
Yes.
but, you know,
There are several private plants. Comfort Suites has a plant,
But-
Hampton Inn has a plant, Marina Bay has a plant.
but the authority could look into acquiring them.
That would be up to HRSD.
Yeah, okay.
And if it's I would think no interest to them, and I'm not speaking for them, but I would think it would be of no interest to them unless they had, their permit had extra capacity,
Yeah.
which is the reason they are working with us.
How much are your usage, do you know?
I have no idea.
You're paying for it.
I can tell you that restaurants we have connected typically use 7 EDUs. They were sold 7 EDUs.
7?
7. One of the hotels connected is 15 EDUs. So, as you can see, and that's 300 gallons a day, so.
Are we gonna wait for this to develop further, or are we gonna do something with the restrooms at the chamber location?
We applied for or I should say, and we just discussed this at the last meeting, but the Eastern Shore Chamber went through, I believe, another organization across the bay, and we joined with them last year, as well as Exmoor and Hancock, in applying for a grant to do public restrooms. That grant was unsuccessful, so we did not get the grant, but we were going to use the grant to build public restrooms on the Chamber Circle. So now we have it in our capital improvement plan that we just reviewed in the meeting right before this. And I've got enough money, I hope, to build a moderate public restroom and do the sewage for that as well at the Chamber building. Yes, it's a project we want to do. It's a project in our plan. Just needs to be funded.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, because although we'll have the additional restrooms at the park, at the Brittany Park, which is nice, but it's off the track, off the beaten track, and there is a lot of usage of the town facility right there next to the theater.
Right.
So, I mean,
And believe
it
me,
is needed.
the ladies at the Chamber tell us regularly how
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 many
many
people?
people ask for bathrooms when they go in there.
Yep, yep. Well, it's funny, because I broke out the bylaws for the wastewater advisory committee, and one of the last meetings was back in 2016, when Spiro retired or left us. At that time, we still have Kelly and Scott, yourself, Tommy Clark, available that we had on the committee. So if the town chooses to activate that, it is the committee that was set up by the planning commission. Yeah,
Well,
so-
the HRSD wants to see this in our comprehensive plan, which is in your purview.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we
like I
can do
said,
that.
I will obtain some samples that we need to look over, and as I said, time is of the essence. So, because by the time that HRSD takes this plan over, and our target is, as I said, the lease is for a year, but our target is to complete this prior to 180 days. So we're looking at 6 months, no longer than 6 months to complete
Good.
this. And right now, it's looking like, I hate making it predictions, especially in this deal with trips and terms, but we're looking like we can do that at this point.
Well, all the documentation should be available
Yep.
right there. If you could just marry the two together.
And, yeah, again, now, what's the saying? Let no man's good work go unused.
Bless you. Yep, yep.
So then once Hampton Roads takes over, is that when other people can connect?
They have to build out the capacity for us. Once they do that, yes, the town will have a plan on, and this will go through council, but the town will have a plan on who can connect, what the criteria is for connection, and what the cost will be. But there's a lot of questions that have to be answered first. We have to build a collection system, which we're gonna hopefully use our ARPA money for, and that has to be spent, that has to be encumbered by December of '24 and spent by December of '26. So perfectly doable. We just want to need to get this done, and that cost of that collection system is going to be one of the things that determines what it'll cost to connect.
And then what's that, the pipe that runs down the street? Is that
It is, and at this point, it looks like it'll be a low-pressure force main like we have going there now. But HRSD's rates, and they've told us, their rates are published on their website, and we'll have the same rate that everyone else does. So their rates won't change. In fact, they've told me many times that rural areas benefit from the inefficiencies of collection systems and treatment in the rural areas is benefited from the efficiencies and economics of collection and treatment in the metropolitan areas. So we're benefiting from they're blending the rates between the two, and we end up on the plus side of that. They stopped just short of saying the metropolitan areas carry us on the back, but
Nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
not for us.
Exactly.
Well, again, nice work getting us there. Okay, item number 8, any comments with? Yeah. Rob?
No, I think I'm good.
No, I'm good. Ms. Molly? Mike?
Yes, sir.
Anything-
Thank you.
Anything you want to throw in us that happened prior to our meeting that was a benefit to the
No,
planning
just
commission?
boring budget stuff.
Is there more money coming?
No, we'll need some after that, maybe, but no.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Thank you all.